Owen Blake walked through the glass corridors of the Orbital Military Academy, feeling every stare that followed him. His worn canvas backpack hung from his shoulders, brown and faded from years of use. Around him, other cadets glided past with floating storage cases that hummed softly, their contents organized by artificial intelligence. Some carried sleek metallic pods no bigger than a briefcase, yet capable of holding entire wardrobes through dimensional compression technology. He was the first human to attend this academy. Earth had only joined the Galactic Coalition 5 years ago, and the other species still viewed humanity as newcomers. Primitive newcomers, if Owen was being honest about it. A tall cadet with silver feathers and sharp golden eyes landed beside him. The Scythe species had wings that folded neatly against their backs, and this one looked at Owen's backpack like it was something pulled from a museum. "Is that really what you are bringing?" the cadet asked. His name was Rin, and he had made it clear from day one that he did not think humans belonged here. Owen adjusted the straps on his shoulders. "Yes, this is what I am bringing." Rin laughed, a sound like wind through metal chimes. "My storage unit can hold 3 months of supplies in a space the size of my hand. Your bag looks like it might fall apart if you pack it too full." Other cadets had stopped to watch now. A crystalline being named Dax tilted their geometric head, light refracting through their transparent body. "Curious. Why would you choose such an inefficient carrying method?" "It works," Owen said simply. He kept walking toward the main assembly hall. The academy floated in orbit above Garrison 7, a planet used entirely for military training. Through the transparent walls, Owen could see the blue and green world below, so similar to Earth that it made his chest ache with homesickness. He had been here for 6 months, and every day felt like a test he had not studied for. In the assembly hall, hundreds of cadets gathered. Owen spotted Petra Volkov near the front, the only other human at the academy. She was 2 years ahead of him, and she had survived by being better than everyone else at everything. When she saw Owen, she gave him a small nod. It was the most encouragement he ever got. Commander Halrus entered through the main doors. The Solong commander had scales that shifted from green to gray depending on his mood, and right now they were dark. His yellow eyes swept across the room and everyone fell silent. "Cadet," he began, his voice deep and rough. "You have trained for 6 months. You have learned combat, strategy, technology, and tactics. Now you will face the final survival test." A hologram appeared above his head, showing a gray moon covered in sharp mountains and deep valleys. "This is Arcturus 9. You will spend 72 hours on its surface. The environment is hostile. Temperatures drop to -60 degrees at night. Magnetic storms occur without warning. These storms will disable most electronic equipment." Whispers spread through the crowd. Owen listened carefully. "You may bring 1 personal container of supplies," Commander Halrus continued. "Choose wisely. Dropships will deploy you at dawn tomorrow. Extraction point coordinates will be provided. Reach it within 72 hours, or you fail. Failure means removal from this academy." The hologram changed to show swirling purple clouds. "Magnetic storms are common. They last between 4 and 18 hours. Your technology may not function during these periods. Plan accordingly." Rin raised his hand. "Commander, our equipment is rated for extreme conditions. Surely the storms are not strong enough to affect military-grade technology." Commander Halrus's scales darkened further. "The moon does not care about ratings, Cadet Rin. Prepare for the worst." After the assembly ended, Owen returned to his small quarters. The room was basic, just a bed, a desk, and a storage locker. He pulled his backpack onto the bed and began going through it carefully. The pack had belonged to his grandfather, who had been a survival instructor in the old national parks back on Earth. Before he died, he had given it to Owen with simple instructions. Technology fails. Knowledge does not. This pack represents 200,000 years of humans learning to survive. Owen pulled out each item and checked it. A military-grade tarp, folded tight. 50 meters of paracord, a metal canteen, water purification tablets and a small filter system, a magnesium fire starter. A first aid kit with real bandages, not the synthetic healing spray everyone else used. A compass, a folding knife, duct tape, a signal mirror, a small pot for cooking, trail mix, beef jerky, and energy bars in sealed bags, a wool blanket, an emergency thermal blanket, coffee filters, a small bag of activated charcoal, a map and pencil, a basic radio wrapped in a special pouch. Everything was simple. Nothing needed batteries or charging. Nothing relied on computers or satellites. Other cadets walked past his open door and some stopped to look inside. A blue-skinned hydran named Nira paused at the entrance. "You are really bringing that old thing?" "Yes," Owen said. "But Rin has the new Omni-Tool 9000. It has everything. Shelter generator, food synthesizer, water purifier, medical scanner, and emergency beacon. All in one device smaller than your hand." Owen folded his tarp and placed it back in the pack. "That sounds useful. You do not want something like that?" "I cannot afford something like that," Owen admitted. "Human technology is not as advanced yet. We are still catching up." Nira's expression softened. "That must be difficult." "It is what it is," Owen said. After she left, Petra appeared in his doorway. She looked at his pack and then at him. "You know they are all talking about you, right? They think you will fail immediately. I know. This test is important, Owen. If you fail, it makes all humans look bad. It gives them an excuse to say we do not belong here." Owen met her eyes. "I am not going to fail." "How can you be sure? Look at what you are bringing compared to what they have." Owen zipped up his backpack and set it beside his bed. "My grandfather survived 3 wars and 40 years teaching people not to die in the wilderness. He survived with less than this. I will manage." Petra stared at him for a long moment, then nodded slowly. "Good luck tomorrow." That night, Owen lay in bed and thought about his grandfather's words. Simple tools, basic knowledge, the skills that kept humans alive long before they had computers or spaceships. He thought about Rin's expensive Omni-Tool, and Dax's confidence in their crystalline body needing almost nothing. He thought about the magnetic storms that Commander Halrus warned about, and he smiled in the darkness because he knew something they did not. When technology fails, the person with the oldest tools wins. The dropship's interior smelled like metal and recycled air. Owen sat on the hard bench with his backpack between his feet, watching the other cadets make final adjustments to their equipment. Through the small windows, he could see Arcturus 9 growing larger, its gray surface crossed with dark shadows from the mountain ranges. Rin sat across from him, holding a device that looked like a smooth black stone. He pressed his thumb against it and a holographic display appeared in the air. "Omni-Tool 9000, he announced to no one in particular. "Shelter generator rated for -100 degrees. Food synthesizer with 200 meal options. Water purifier that can make anything drinkable. Medical scanner and treatment system. And an emergency beacon that can punch through any interference." Dax's crystalline form caught the light as they turned toward Rin. "Impressive. I require minimal resources myself. My body stores solar energy and I can enter a low-power state if needed. This test should be simple. Easy for you both," Nira said from her seat near the back. Her blue skin had a wet sheen to it, and she wore a special suit that kept her hydrated. "My species needs constant moisture, but my purification system can convert any liquid, even my own body waste if necessary." Several cadets made disgusted sounds, but Nira just shrugged. "Survival is not pretty." Rin pointed at Owen's backpack. "What about you, human? Still planning to rough it with your grandfather's hand-me-downs?" Owen did not look up. "Yes. You know that thing probably weighs 15 kilos, right? My Omni-Tool weighs 100 grams. My pack weighs 12 kilos, Owen corrected. I weighed it this morning." 12 kilos of rocks and sticks, Rin said, and several cadets laughed. "I give you 6 hours before you are crying for extraction." The dropship shuddered as it entered the atmosphere. The pilot's voice came through the speakers. "Beginning deployment sequence. Cadets will be dropped at individual locations within a 20-kilometer radius. Extraction point is marked on your devices. You have 72 hours. Good luck." One by one, cadets moved to the deployment doors. Some had wings and would fly down. Others had anti-gravity belts or personal landing shields. When Owen's turn came, he put on the standard-issue gravity chute that would slow his fall. It was the one piece of technology all cadets received, because the Academy did not want anyone dying from the drop itself. Rin stepped up beside him. "See you at extraction, human." "If you make it," Owen did not reply. The door opened, wind rushed in, and he stepped out into empty space. The fall lasted 30 seconds. Below him, rocky highlands stretched out in all directions, sharp peaks and narrow valleys. The gravity chute activated automatically, and he drifted down like a feather until his feet touched solid ground. The chute detached and flew back up to the ship. He was alone on an alien moon, and he had never felt more ready. Owen found a spot between two large rocks that would block the wind. He unfolded his tarp and used the paracord to tie it between the rocks, creating a slanted roof. He stacked smaller stones along the bottom edges to hold it down. The whole process took him 20 minutes. When he finished, he had a shelter that would keep out rain and wind and trap heat. Other cadets would be pressing buttons on their devices, letting machines do the work. Owen wondered how many of them had ever built anything with their own hands. He gathered dry brush and dead wood from a thorny plant growing in the rocks. Using his knife, he made a small pile of shavings. Then he struck his magnesium starter, and sparks flew onto the shavings. They caught immediately. He fed the small flame carefully until he had a proper fire. Smoke rose into the gray sky. The sun was setting and the temperature had already dropped. Owen checked his compass and looked at the paper map he had drawn based on the coordinates. The extraction point was 15 kilometers northeast. Easy walking distance in 3 days if nothing went wrong. He ate some trail mix and drank water from his canteen. Then he settled down to wait for night. That was when the storm hit. It started as a low hum in the air, like someone rubbing the rim of a glass. Then the sky turned purple, and lightning that was not quite lightning began to arc between the clouds. The magnetic storm commander Halrus had warned about. Owen watched as his fire danced in strange patterns. The rocks around him seemed to vibrate slightly, and then from his backpack he heard static from his radio. He pulled it out. The radio was old with physical dials and switches. He had wrapped it in a special pouch made of metal mesh, what his grandfather had called a Faraday cage. It blocked electromagnetic interference. He turned it on and heard chaos. "Shelter generator is offline." "Repeat, my shelter is offline." "Food synthesizer not responding. Temperature dropping fast. Water purifier failing. System error. My beacon is dead. I cannot call for extraction." Voice after voice, cadets reporting equipment failures. The magnetic storm was stronger than anyone had expected. All their advanced technology useless. Owen checked his equipment. His tarp was still tied tight. His fire still burned. His compass needle spun wildly from the magnetic interference, but it would work again once the storm passed. Everything else in his pack was mechanical, simple, built to work without power. He heard Rin's voice through the static, and for the first time the scythe sounded scared. "This is Cadet Rin. My Omni tool is completely dead. No shelter, no heat. Temperature is -40 and dropping. Can anyone hear me?" Owen looked at his fire. He looked at his shelter. Then he pressed the transmit button on his radio. "This is Owen Blake. I am at coordinates Delta 7 near the Twin Rocks. I have fire and shelter. Anyone nearby can join me." Silence on the radio. Then Rin's voice again, quieter. "You still have working equipment?" "I have fire," Owen said. "Fire does not need batteries. My coordinates are Delta 7. That is 3 kilometers from my position. Then you better start walking." More voices came through the radio. Nira reported her position only 2 kilometers away, but her heating suit had failed. Dax was nearby, but the cold was making their crystalline body brittle. They needed warmth. Owen gave them all his coordinates again. Then he gathered more wood for the fire and boiled some water in his small pot. He made it strong and hot because they would need something warm inside them. 40 minutes later, Rin stumbled into the firelight. His silver feathers were ruffled and his whole body was shaking. He stared at Owen like he was seeing a ghost. "You have a fire," Rin said. His voice shook. "Yes," Owen said. "Sit down before you fall down." Rin collapsed near the flames, spreading his wings to absorb the heat. "My Omni tool cost 6,000 credits. Top of the line, and it died in the first storm." "Technology fails," Owen said simply. He handed Rin a metal cup with hot water. "Drink this." Nira arrived next, her suit completely dry and cracking. Owen gave her water and helped her sit by the fire. Dax came last, moving slowly because their body had developed small cracks from the cold. They all sat around Owen's simple fire. under his simple tarp shelter, while the purple storm raged overhead and their expensive equipment lay useless in their packs. Rin looked at Owen across the flames. "I called your backpack primitive garbage." "Yes," Owen said. "You did." "I was wrong." Owen poked the fire with a stick, sending sparks up into the night. "You were not completely wrong. It is primitive. But primitive means it works when nothing else does." The storm continued through the night, but Owen's fire kept burning. Morning came slowly on Arcturus 9. The purple storm had faded during the night, leaving the sky a pale gray. Owen woke first, as he always did, and checked the fire. Still burning low. He added more wood and watched the flames grow. The 3 other cadets were still sleeping near the fire. Rin had his wings wrapped around himself. Nira's skin looked better now, not as dry and cracked. Dax sat perfectly still in what might have been sleep or some kind of standby mode for their crystalline body. Owen pulled out his map and checked the coordinates again. 15 kilometers to the extraction point, but now he had 3 others with him. That would slow them down, but it was still manageable. They had 2 more days. He checked their equipment while they slept. Rin's Omni-tool showed no signs of life. Nira's purification system had a cracked screen. Dax's internal navigation system seemed confused, probably from the magnetic interference. All of it expensive, all of it useless. "You are already awake," Dax said suddenly. Their voice sounded like glass chimes. "Force of habit," Owen said. "My grandfather always said the early riser sees danger before danger sees them." Dax's geometric head tilted. "Your grandfather taught you many things." "He taught me everything that matters. Why do your people rely so much on old knowledge? Other species develop new technology and leave the old ways behind." Owen stirred the fire. "Because humans come from a difficult world. Earth has deserts that can kill you with heat, mountains that can kill you with cold, oceans that can drown you, and forests full of predators. We had to learn survival before we learned anything else. That knowledge got built into us, generation after generation. We do not forget it just because we have new tools now. But new tools are better. Better until they break," Owen said. "Then the old tools are all you have." Nira woke next, stretching her blue arms. "Did the storm pass?" "Yes, but it might come back. Commander Halris said storms last 4 to 18 hours. We should move while we can." Rin opened his eyes and sat up. He looked at Owen's fire, then at his own dead Omni-tool. "I cannot believe I'm going to say this, but I need your help, human." "My name is Owen." Rin nodded slowly. "I need your help, Owen." "With what?" "Everything. I have no working equipment. No food synthesizer, no water purifier, no shelter generator. Nothing." Nira raised her hand. "Same for me. My suit is dead. I need water constantly or my skin dries out." Owen pulled out his water bottles and handed them around. "Drink slowly. We need to ration." "How much water do you have?" Dax asked. 2 liters in bottles. "But I can purify more." He showed them his filter system. "This is just a mechanical filter with activated charcoal. Gravity pulls water through it. No power needed. It is slow, but it works." He also showed them the purification tablets. "These are chemical. Drop 1 in water, wait 30 minutes, safe to drink. My grandfather carried these through 3 wars." Rin watched carefully. "Can you purify enough for all of us?" "If we find water, yes. There should be a stream about 3 kilometers north. The map shows elevation that suggests water flow." "Your map is paper," Nira said. "How do you know it is accurate?" "I drew it based on the terrain data we received before deployment. Paper does not crash," they packed up the camp. Owen showed them how to fold the tarp properly so it would not tear. He divided some of his food among them. Trail mix, beef jerky, 1 energy bar each. It was not much, but it was something. "This food is so simple," Rin said, chewing the jerky. "Just dried meat." "Dried meat lasts for months without refrigeration," Owen explained. "Humans have been preserving food this way for thousands of years." They started walking northeast. Owen led with his compass, checking it constantly as it slowly stabilized after the magnetic storm. Dax walked beside him, fascinated by the simple device. "A needle that points to magnetic north," Dax said. "So simple. Simple and reliable." The terrain was rough, all sharp rocks and steep slopes. Rin could fly short distances, which helped him scout ahead. Nira struggled with the climbing, so Owen tied a length of paracord around her waist and helped pull her up the difficult sections. "What is this cord made of?" Nira asked. "Nylon. Strong enough to hold over 200 kilograms. My grandfather used it for everything. Shelter, climbing, repairs, even fishing line if you unravel it. One cord has many uses, that is the point. Every tool in my pack does multiple jobs. The knife cuts, prees, digs, and defends. The tarp is shelter, raincoat, ground cover, water collector. The pot cooks food, boils water, and carries supplies. Dax listened to all of this. Your species thinks in terms of efficiency. We think in terms of survival, Owen corrected. They found the stream just before midday. It was small, just a trickle running between rocks, but it was water. Owen set up his filter system and began the slow process of purifying enough for everyone. While the water filtered, he dropped purification tablets in bottles as backup. Rin landed nearby after scouting ahead. The extraction point is still 12 kilometers away. We are making good time. Any sign of other cadets? I saw smoke from 2 fires in the distance. Some others are managing. Nira sat on a rock, soaking her arms in the stream. Her skin was already looking healthier. Owen, why did you share your fire coordinates last night? You could have kept warm alone while we all froze. Owen did not look up from the filter, because that is what humans do. We survived together, but we mocked you. Rin called your pack garbage, I know. So why help us? Owen finally looked at her. Because being angry does not keep you warm. Being right does not fill your stomach. Survival is not about proving points. It is about making it through to the next day. Rin landed in front of him. You shamed me, human Owen. You shamed me without saying a word. That was not my intention. I know. That makes it worse. Rin sat down. I spent 6,000 credits on technology I was told would never fail. You spent maybe 300 on equipment older than my grandparents, and when the storm came, your 300 credits saved my life. Technology is not bad, Owen said, but you cannot rely on it completely. My grandfather had a saying, hope for the best, prepare for the worst, and never assume tomorrow will be easier than today. They rested by the stream for an hour, drinking the purified water and eating small amounts of food. Then they continued northeast, moving steadily toward the extraction point. Around mid-afternoon, the sky started turning purple again. No, Nira whispered. Not another storm. Owen checked the terrain. There, that rock formation. We can shelter inside, they ran. The purple light grew brighter and the humming sound filled the air. They reached the rocks just as the storm hit full force. This time it was stronger. Lightning arced between the peaks. The ground vibrated, and when Owen checked his radio, even it was filled with static too thick to hear voices. They huddled in the rocks while the storm raged. Owen distributed his wool blanket and the emergency thermal blanket among them. He started a small fire using debris that had blown into the shelter. How long will this storm last? Rin asked, no way to know. Could be hours, could be longer. Dax's body was developing more cracks. The magnetic interference seemed to affect their crystalline structure directly. I am experiencing internal disruption. Owen pulled out his roll of duct tape. Give me your arm. Dax extended one crystalline limb. Owen carefully wrapped tape around the cracks, reinforcing them. This is not a permanent fix, but it should hold until we reach extraction. You are repairing me with tape. Duct tape fixes everything. That is not a joke. That is truth. Humans have used duct tape to repair spaceships. Dax looked at their taped arm. I came to this academy believing I was advanced. Now I am being held together by adhesive strips older than spaceflight. Rin laughed, a sound without mockery this time. We all learned something today. Technology fails. Humans endure. The storm lasted through the night and into the next morning. When it finally passed, they had less than 30 hours to reach extraction. But they had survived together, and that was worth more than any technology. The cave system was darker than Owen had expected. He held up a small chemical light stick, one of the few things in his pack that required any kind of technology. The green glow revealed tunnels stretching in multiple directions, walls covered in some kind of moisture that reflected the light. They had found the caves an hour after the second storm ended. The group needed rest, and the caves offered protection from the wind that had started cutting across the highlands like knives. But something felt wrong to Owen. His grandfather had taught him to trust his instincts, and right now his instincts were screaming. We should not stay here long, he said quietly. Why not? Nira asked. She was running her hands along the wet walls, letting moisture soak into her skin. This is perfect for me. It feels wrong. Dax's cracked body reflected the green light in strange patterns. Define wrong. Before Owen could answer, he heard it. A high-pitched clicking sound echoing through the tunnels. Then another click and another, building into a chorus. "Everyone stay still," Owen whispered. From deeper in the cave, shapes began to emerge. They looked like bats, but much larger, each one the size of a small dog. Their wings were leathery and translucent, and their faces had too many teeth. They hung from the ceiling by the dozens, waking up from the disturbance. Rin's feathers stood on end. "What are those?" "Cave hunters," Dax said, their voice tight. "My database has limited information, but they are territorial and aggressive." One of the creatures dropped from the ceiling and flew toward them. Rin spread his wings to defend himself, but Owen grabbed his arm. "Do not fight them. There are too many. We need to leave slowly." But the creatures were waking faster now, disturbed by Rin's sudden movement. More dropped from the ceiling, circling in the enclosed space. Their clicking grew louder, more aggressive. Owen pulled his signal mirror from his pack. The mirror was meant to reflect sunlight for rescue signals, but it would work for any light source. He angled it to catch the green glow from his light stick and flashed the reflection toward the creatures. The effect was immediate. The creatures scattered, disoriented by the sudden bright flashes. Their clicking turned confused, bouncing off walls in wrong directions. "Move. Now," Owen said. They ran back toward the entrance, Owen flashing the mirror behind them whenever the creatures got too close. The reflected light confused the animals enough to keep them at a distance. When they finally burst out of the cave into daylight, all four of them were breathing hard. Rin stared back at the cave entrance. "You saved us with a mirror." "A mirror and basic animal behavior," Owen said, checking his pack to make sure nothing had fallen out. "Most cave animals have sensitive eyes. Sudden light confuses them. My sonar device could have detected those creatures before we entered," Nira said sadly. "But it is dead." "We survived without it," Owen pointed out. "That is what matters. They needed to keep moving. The extraction point was still 10 kilometers away, and they had lost time sheltering from the storm." Owen checked his compass and map, calculating the fastest route. "We need to go through that valley," he said, pointing to a gap between two mountains. "It will save us 3 hours." "Or we could go around," Dax suggested. "The long way might be safer." "We do not have time for safer. The extraction window closes in 24 hours. If we are late, we fail." The valley was narrow and steep-sided. They descended carefully, Owen using his paracord to create handholds for difficult sections. Nira had to be lowered down one particularly steep cliff face, the cord tied securely around her waist. Halfway through the valley, they heard voices. Owen held up his hand, signaling everyone to stop. He crept forward and looked around a boulder. 2 more cadets were huddled against the valley wall. One was a Loomis like Dax, their crystalline body even more cracked and damaged. The other was a 4-armed cadet from a species Owen did not recognize. Both looked in bad condition. Owen stepped out from behind the boulder. "Do you need help?" The 4-armed cadet looked up, eyes wide. "You are the human." "Owen Blake. I heard your transmission before the second storm hit. Yes, are you hurt?" "Cold. Hungry. My partner cannot walk anymore. Their body is too damaged." Owen called the others forward. He looked at their supplies. The crystals had almost nothing left. The 4-armed cadet had a bag, but it was full of useless electronics. "We are low on food," Rin said quietly to Owen. "If we share, we might not have enough." Owen ignored him. He pulled out his remaining food. 4 energy bars, a bag of trail mix, and some jerky. Not much for 6 people, but it was something. "Here," he said, handing half to the 2 cadets. "Eat slowly. We need to ration." "You are giving us your food?" the 4-armed cadet asked. "Would you prefer I let you starve?" The crystalline Loomis could not eat, but they needed heat. Owen pulled out his emergency thermal blanket and wrapped it around their body. Then he used more duct tape to reinforce their worst cracks. "This is the second time I have seen duct tape used for medical purposes," Dax said. "I am starting to believe it is a miracle substance." "Close enough," Owen said. The 4-armed cadet's name was Plex. While they ate, Plex explained what had happened. "We were partnered for the test. When the storms hit, all our equipment failed. We tried to reach extraction, but my partner started cracking from the cold. I could not leave them behind." "Of course not," Owen said. "We moved together." Rin pulled Owen aside. "We are now 6 people with supplies for maybe 2 people, and we still have 10 kilometers to go." "I know. We cannot save everyone, Owen." Owen looked at the 2 new cadets, then at Rin. My grandfather fought in a war where he watched people abandon their wounded because carrying them was too difficult. It haunted him for 40 years. Every night he woke up screaming, seeing the faces of people he left behind. I will not carry that weight. We all reach extraction, or none of us do. Rin stared at him for a long moment. Then he nodded slowly. You humans are either the bravest or the most foolish species I have ever met. Often both at the same time, Owen agreed. They redistributed the supplies. Owen kept his backpack and gave Plex the emergency blanket to carry. Dax and the other Loomis could walk together, supporting each other. Nira was still tired, but she could manage. The group moved through the valley as the sun began to set. Owen set a steady pace, not too fast, but not too slow. He taught them a trick his grandfather had shown him. Breathe in rhythm with your steps, 3 steps breathing in, 2 steps breathing out. It conserved energy over long distances. Why 3 and 2? Plex asked. Because 3 and 2 is more natural for human breathing than 4 and 4. I do not know if it works the same for you, but try it. They tried it. Remarkably, it seemed to help everyone, regardless of species. As darkness fell, Owen found a sheltered spot among some rocks. He set up the tarp again, building a larger shelter this time to fit 6 bodies. He started a fire and boiled water for everyone. They had 1 energy bar left. Owen broke it into 6 pieces. This is not enough food, Nira said, looking at her tiny portion. No, Owen agreed. But it is what we have. Tomorrow we reach extraction. We can make it. Plex ate the small piece slowly. Why are you doing this, human? We are not your friends. Some of us mocked you. Others ignored you. You owe us nothing. Owen poked the fire with a stick. My grandfather told me that humans learned something important in our history. We learned it the hard way. Through wars and disasters and famines, we learned that we are stronger together than apart. That helping someone else does not make you weaker. That sometimes the measure of a person is not what they do when it is easy, but what they do when it is hard. That is a nice philosophy, Dax said. But does it work in practice? Owen looked around the fire at 6 different species, all huddled together for warmth, all sharing the same small amount of food and water. You tell me. The fire burned low through the night, but it never went out. And 6 cadets slept peacefully, knowing that tomorrow they would reach extraction together. Dawn on the 3rd day brought clear skies and bitter cold. Owen woke before the others and checked their supplies. The food was gone. The water was nearly gone. They had exactly 10 hours to cover 10 kilometers, and everyone was exhausted. He looked at his 6 companions sleeping around the dead fire. 3 days ago, most of them had been strangers. Some had mocked him. Now they were depending on him to get them home. His backpack felt lighter than it had at the start. He had given away his blanket, used most of his duct tape, shared all his food. The pack that Rin had called primitive garbage was nearly empty now, its contents scattered among the group to keep them alive. But it had done its job. That was what mattered. Owen started the fire one more time and boiled the last of the water. He divided it equally among everyone as they woke. 6 small cups of water. It would have to be enough. Last day, Rin said, stretching his wings. The silver feathers looked dirty and bent. 10 kilometers. We can do it, Owen said with more confidence than he felt. Petra's voice crackled over the radio suddenly, startling everyone. Owen grabbed the device, surprised it was still working. Owen, can you hear me? Petra, yes, I hear you. What is your status? I am 3 kilometers from extraction, injured. I fell when my anti-gravity boots failed during the second storm. Ankle is twisted badly. I can barely walk. Owen checked his map. Where exactly are you? She gave coordinates. Owen traced the route with his finger. That is 2 kilometers out of our way. Do not come for me, Petra said immediately. You have 10 hours. If you go out of your way, you might not make it. How bad is the ankle? Bad enough that I will not make it alone. Owen looked at his group. All of them were tired, hungry, and injured in various ways. 2 kilometers out of their way, plus carrying an injured person back, would add at least 3 hours to their journey. It would be close. Very close. We are coming to get you, Owen said. Owen, no. Do not risk everyone for me. We are coming. He switched off the radio before she could argue further. Then he turned to face the group. You heard that. We need to make a detour. It will be difficult. Anyone who wants to go straight to extraction instead, I understand. Nobody moved. We are already 6, Plex said. 7 is just one more. 7 is a lucky number for my species, Nira added. Dax's cracked body reflected the morning light. We have come this far together. We finish together. Rin stood and folded his wings. I once told you that you would not last 6 hours. I was wrong about many things. Let us go get your friend. They moved fast, faster than Owen thought they could manage. Rin flew ahead to scout the route, calling back directions. Plex used their forearms to help the damaged Loomis climb over obstacles. Nira pushed through her exhaustion without complaint. They found Petra sitting against a rock, her face pale with pain. Her ankle was swollen to twice its normal size and had turned a dark purple. When she saw them, tears filled her eyes. You came, she whispered. Of course we came, Owen said. He knelt beside her and examined the ankle carefully. Definitely sprained, maybe fractured. Can you walk at all? Barely. Not fast enough to reach extraction in time. Owen pulled out his first aid kit. He had one elastic bandage left, saved for exactly this kind of emergency. He wrapped her ankle tightly, stabilizing it as best he could. Then he cut a straight branch from a thorny bush and used more paracord to create a makeshift crutch. This will help, but we need to move you faster than you can walk. He looked at Plex. Can you carry her? You have the most arms. I can try. Plex lifted Petra onto their back using all 4 arms to secure her. It was awkward, but it worked. They started moving again, now 7 cadets racing against time. The route back was uphill. Owen checked his compass constantly, adjusting their path to find the easiest terrain. His grandfather's voice echoed in his head. When you are tired and running out of time, do not panic. Panic wastes energy. Stay calm. Think clearly, keep moving. They reached a river 2 hours later. Owen checked his map and cursed silently. The river was not supposed to be here. It must have been dry when the terrain data was collected, but recent rains had filled it. The water was moving fast, full of debris. We need to cross, Owen said. How? Nira asked. The water is too fast and too deep. Owen studied the river. About 30 meters across, moving quickly. There were rocks jutting up in a few places, but not enough to step across. His mind raced through options. Then he remembered his paracord. He had used most of it, but there was still about 15 meters left on the spool. I can make a crossing system, he said, but I need more rope. I have cord in my pack, Plex said. It is not as strong as yours, but it might help. They combined their rope. 25 meters total. Not quite enough, but close. Owen tied one end around his waist and handed the other to Rin. I will cross first and secure the rope on the other side. You anchor it on this side. Then everyone can use it to guide themselves across. The water will pull you downstream, Dax warned. I know, but it is the only way. Owen waded into the river. The cold hit him like a fist, stealing his breath. The current was stronger than he expected, pulling at his legs. He moved carefully, testing each step before committing his weight. Halfway across, his foot slipped on an algae-covered rock. The current caught him and dragged him sideways. The rope went taut and he heard Rin shout from the shore. Owen fought against the water, pulling himself hand over hand along the rope back to his original position. His legs were numb from the cold, but he kept moving. One step at a time. Test the rock, shift your weight, move forward. It took 10 minutes to cross 30 meters, but he made it. On the far side, he tied the rope around a sturdy boulder. Then he signaled to the others. One by one, they crossed. Nira went first, her aquatic nature helping her move through the water easily. Dax went next, their weight making them stable against the current. Plex carried Petra on their back, using all 4 arms to grip the rope. Rin flew across with his wings. When everyone was safely on the far side, Owen untied the rope from the boulder. He coiled it carefully and put it back in his pack. Even soaked and cold, it might be useful. They had 5 hours left and 6 kilometers to go. Everyone was exhausted, but they kept moving. Owen set the pace, steady and relentless. He taught them another trick from his grandfather. Focus on the next 100 meters, not the whole distance. Break the impossible into possible pieces. 100 meters, he would say. Just reach that rock formation. They would reach it. Good, now 100 more. To that ridge. They would reach it. 100 meters at a time, they ate up the distance. The extraction point appeared on the horizon with 1 hour to spare. Owen could see the landing zone marked by bright orange beacons. Other cadets were already there, sitting in small groups, waiting for the pickup ships. The group of 7 climbed the final hill together. When they crossed into the extraction zone, several cadets turned to stare. They saw 7 cadets moving as a unit, 2 of them heavily damaged, 1 being carried, all of them looking like they had fought a war. Owen's legs finally gave out, and he sat down hard on the ground. His backpack landed beside him, nearly empty now. He looked at it and smiled. "Your pack saved us," Rin said, sitting beside him. "Your primitive garbage pack." "It did its job," Owen agreed. "More than that. You did more than survive, Owen. You taught us what survival really means." The pickup ships arrived exactly on time. Commander Halris stood at the landing zone, checking off cadets as they boarded. When he saw Owen's group, he stopped writing and just stared. "All 7 of you together?" he asked. "Yes, Commander," Owen said. "How many of your advanced tools still function?" "None of them, Commander. Everything failed in the storms." Halris looked at Owen's backpack, then at Owen. Something like respect crossed the commander's scaled face. "Cadet Blake, report to my office once you are recovered. We need to talk about your methods." The 7 cadets boarded the ship together. As they lifted off, Owen looked back at Arcturus 9. 3 days ago, he had been alone with a backpack full of simple tools. Now he had 6 friends who understood what he had always known. Sometimes the old ways are the best ways. The medical bay was busy when they arrived back at the orbital academy. Doctors from different species moved between beds, scanning injuries and administering treatments. Owen sat on an examination table while a medical AI checked his temperature and hydration levels. "Mild hypothermia, dehydration, exhaustion," the AI announced. "Nothing that rest and nutrition will not fix. You are cleared for duty in 24 hours. Owen nodded and looked around the bay. Petra was 2 beds over, getting her ankle properly treated. Plex was being checked for muscle strain from carrying her. Dax and the other Loomis were in a special chamber that was slowly warming their crystalline bodies and repairing the cracks. Nira was in a water tank, rehydrating her skin. Rin sat on a bed nearby, looking thoughtful. Across the medical bay, Owen could see other cadets from the test. Some were in worse condition than his group. A few beds had cadets who were unconscious, suffering from severe exposure. The magnetic storms had caught many people unprepared. A nurse approached Owen with a meal tray. Real food, hot and plentiful. Owen ate slowly, savoring every bite. 3 days of rationing had made him appreciate food in a new way. "You are the human who helped everyone," the nurse said. She was a Hydran like Nira with kind eyes. "The stories are already spreading. 7 cadets working together, surviving with nothing but old tools." "It was not just old tools," Owen said. "It was teamwork. Still, you should be proud." After medical clearance, Owen was told to report to Commander Halris's office. He walked through the academy halls, still wearing his dirty survival clothes. Other cadets stopped to stare. Some nodded in respect. Others whispered to each other. Commander Halris's office was at the top of the academy tower. The walls were transparent, offering a view of the entire station and the planet below. The commander sat behind a desk made of polished stone, reviewing data on a holographic display. "Cadet Blake," he said without looking up. "Sit." Owen sat. Halris finished reading and dismissed the display. Then he turned his full attention to Owen. His scales were a neutral gray, impossible to read. 40% of cadets failed to reach extraction in time, Halris said. Another 20% reached it, but required immediate medical intervention for serious injuries. Only 40% completed the test successfully. Owen waited. "You not only completed the test, but you brought 6 other cadets with you. 2 of them would have died without your intervention. The others would have failed." Halris leaned forward. "Explain your thinking." "Why help them?" "Because they needed help, Commander. That is not an answer. This was a test of individual survival. You could have moved faster alone. You could have reached extraction with time to spare. Instead, you shared your supplies, took detours, and risked failure. Why?" Owen thought about his grandfather, about all those lessons around campfires and on hiking trails. "My grandfather taught me that survival is not just about keeping yourself alive. It is about keeping your people alive. Humans learned that lesson over and over throughout our history. The lone survivor might live, but they live alone. The group that works together survives and thrives. But these cadets were not your people. Some of them mocked you. They became my people when they needed help and I could give it." Halris was quiet for a long moment. His scales shifted slightly toward green, which Owen had learned meant approval. "I designed this test 20 years ago. Do you know why? To test survival skills? To test dependence. Every species that joins the Galactic Coalition brings advanced technology. They build better ships, create better weapons, develop better tools. And slowly, they forget the basics. They forget how to survive without their technology. Halris stood and walked to the window. 3 years ago, a Coalition ship crashed on an ice world. The crew had every advanced tool imaginable. But when their power systems failed, none of them knew how to start a fire,
How to find water.
how to signal for rescue without electronics. 17 trained soldiers died because they had forgotten how to survive. Owen felt a chill that had nothing to do with his recent cold exposure. You humans, Halris continued, you are the newest species in the Coalition. The least advanced technologically. When I heard a human was attending this academy, I expected you to fail immediately. Your species has no anti-gravity, no energy weapons, no quantum processors. You are primitives by our standards. Yes, Commander. Halris turned back to him. But you succeeded where others failed, precisely because you are primitives. You never forgot the basics. Your people still remember how to survive without technology. Technology fails, Owen said quietly. Knowledge does not. Exactly. Halris returned to his desk and pulled up a new holographic display. I am recommending changes to the Academy curriculum. All cadets, regardless of species, will be required to learn basic survival skills. Fire starting, water purification, shelter building, navigation without electronics. The skills that kept your species alive before you reached the stars. Owen blinked in surprise. You want to teach alien species human survival techniques? I want to teach them survival techniques, period. They happen to be human techniques because humans are the only species that still practices them regularly. Halris looked at Owen directly. And I want you to help design the program. Commander, I am just a first-year cadet. You are a first-year cadet who kept 6 others alive using nothing but simple tools and knowledge. That makes you more qualified than most of my senior instructors. Halris closed the display. This is not optional, Cadet Blake. Consider it an assignment. You will work with our curriculum development team to create a basic survival course. All cadets will be required to pass it. Yes, Commander. Dismissed. Owen stood but hesitated at the door. Commander, why did you make the test so hard? You knew most cadets would struggle when their technology failed. Halris's scales darkened slightly. Because I would rather they learn that lesson here, where we can save them, than learn it in real combat where they will die. Better to fail a test than to fail when it matters. Owen nodded and left the office. Outside, he found his group of 6 waiting for him. Rin stood at the front, his wings folded neatly. We wanted to wait for you, Rin said. To say thank you properly. You do not need to thank me. Yes, we do. Rin stepped forward and did something Owen had never seen a Scythe do. He lowered his head in a gesture of respect. I mocked you. I called your methods primitive. I treated you as less than me because your species was newer to the stars. I was wrong and I am sorry. You already apologized. That was on the moon when I was desperate and cold. This is different. This is me, clear-headed and recovered, telling you that you are a better cadet than I am. You are a better person than I am. Dak stepped forward next. Their crystalline body still had some tape on it. You repaired me with tape and taught me that simple solutions are often best solutions. My species prides itself on logic and complexity. You showed me the logic of simplicity. Nira approached and took Owen's hand. You shared your water when you had little to share. You gave your blanket when you needed it yourself. You taught me that generosity is not about having plenty. It is about giving what you have. Plex came forward with Petra on their back. Petra had tears in her eyes. You risked your mission to save me. No one has ever done something like that for me before. The damaged Loomis moved slowly forward. They had not spoken much during the test, but now their voice was clear. I am called Harris. I thought I would die on that moon. You gave me life. I will not forget. Owen looked at all of them, these 6 beings from different worlds, different species, different ways of thinking. 3 days ago, they were strangers. Now they were something more. You all helped each other, Owen said. It was not just me. You showed us how, Rin said. That is the difference. Word spread quickly through the academy about what happened on Arcturus 9. Other cadets approached Owen in the halls, asking questions about his methods. Some wanted to see his backpack, to understand how such simple tools could be so effective. Owen's quarters became an informal classroom. He showed them his fire starter. explained how the magnesium created sparks hot enough to ignite tinder. He demonstrated water filtration using sand, charcoal, and gravity. He taught them about the rule of threes: 3 minutes without air, 3 hours without shelter in extreme conditions, 3 days without water, 3 weeks without food. "These are human rules?" a young cadet asked. "These are survival rules," Owen corrected. "Humans just remember them." A week later, Commander Halris announced the new curriculum to the entire academy. Every cadet would spend 1 month learning basic survival skills before they could advance to the next year. The course would be taught by Owen Blake and other instructors, using primitive tools and methods. Some cadets complained. Others were skeptical. But after what happened on Arcturus 9, most understood why it was necessary. Owen stood in front of his first class looking at 30 cadets from different species. His grandfather's backpack sat on the table beside him, now cleaned and repaired. "This is a canvas backpack," he began. "It is over 70 years old. It has no computer, no power source, no advanced materials, but it saved 7 lives on Arcturus 9, including mine." He pulled out each item one by one, explaining its purpose and how it worked. "These tools are simple. Some of you think that means they are weak or useless, but simple means reliable. Simple means they work when everything else fails. And in survival situations, reliability is more important than sophistication." A cadet raised their hand. "But why should we learn old methods when we have new technology?" Owen smiled. "Because technology is only as good as its power source. This compass," he held up the device, "works anywhere, anytime, forever. It has no batteries to die, no software to crash, no systems to fail. It is just a magnetized needle in physics. That makes it more advanced than any electronic navigation system, because it never stops working." He saw understanding dawn on several faces. "My grandfather had a saying," Owen continued. "Hope for the best, prepare for the worst." That is what this class is about. We hope your technology works perfectly, but we prepare you for when it does not. The class ran for 3 hours. Owen taught them to start fires, to purify water, to build basic shelters. Some struggled with the physical tasks. Others found it frustratingly slow compared to their usual methods. But they learned. Months passed. Owen continued his regular cadet training while teaching survival skills. His friend group grew. Rin became his closest companion, often helping with the survival classes. Dax studied human history, fascinated by how such a young species had developed such effective techniques. Nira, Plex, Petra, and Harris became regular fixtures in Owen's life. One evening, Owen sat in his quarters looking at his backpack. It was empty now, all his supplies used up during the test. He had refilled it with new items, but it was not quite the same. His communication device chimed. A message from Earth from his mother. "Owen, your grandfather would be so proud of you. Everyone here is talking about what you did. You showed the galaxy what humans can do. Come home soon. We miss you." Owen touched the backpack gently. His grandfather had given him more than just tools. He had given him knowledge, wisdom, and a way of thinking that valued simplicity and reliability over complexity and flash. On Arcturus 9, that backpack had been mocked as primitive garbage. But that primitive garbage had saved lives and changed an entire academy's approach to training. Owen smiled and began packing the bag again, carefully and methodically, each item in its place. Because tomorrow he had another class to teach, and another generation of cadets to show that sometimes the oldest ways are still the best ways. The backpack had proven its worth. Now it was time to prove that the lessons it carried were worth even more.